Hello and hi everyone. In this video, we are going to gather information and knowledge on subtopic 3.1, Selection. In this subtopic, students will learn about two types of selection, natural and artificial selections. Natural selection is a gradual process by which heritable traits become either more or less common in a population because of pressures from the environment.
This is Lithopodius nulla, a simple creature with a tendency, like any other species, to reproduce offspring. Lots of offspring. Although the offspring inherit many characteristics of their parents, no two individuals in the population are exactly the same. This variation is vital to the survival of the species, as only a fraction of the Lithopodius will actually survive long enough to reproduce themselves. As a result, only those with characteristics that are best suited for survival in the environment will pass on these successful traits to the next generation. Those with characteristics less suited to the environment are less likely to survive and reproduce. This process is called natural selection, and over time and generations, it leads to the build-up of favorable characteristics in the population of a species.
There are three types of natural selection: stabilizing, directional and disruptive selections. To explain about natural selection, we use the normal distribution curve. Without any selection pressure, most rabbits are white fur and fewer are gray color or Himalayan color. In stabilizing selection, individuals with the average form of the trait have the highest fitness. Example of stabilizing selection. Women often have complications while giving birth to overweight babies, whereas very small babies tend to be underdeveloped. As a result, medium-sized babies will survive. In directional selection, individuals that display a more extreme form of a trait have a greater fitness than individuals with intermediate phenotype. For example, the peppered moth population during the Industrial Revolution had higher frequencies of darker colors because it was well camouflaged in the soot-covered trees. The lighter-colored moths is easily seen and eaten by birds. In disruptive selection, individuals with either extreme variation of a trait have greater fitness than individuals with the average form of the trait. The seed cracker birds have either large beaks or small beaks. They do not have medium-sized beaks because medium-sized beaks do not allow for adequate cracking of seeds. This is an example of disruptive selection. Look at the summary. In stabilizing selection, the intermediate phenotype individuals are favored. Disruptive selection favors individuals of both extreme phenotypes. And directional selection shift to favor a slightly more or less extreme phenotype. Do you able to identify the correct type of natural selection for the given cases? Artificial selection is a process in the breeding of animals, and in the cultivation of plants, by which the breeder chooses to perpetuate only those forms, having certain desirable inheritable characteristics.
What do these animals and plants have in common? They are all products of selective breeding. Suppose you want a variety of cows that produce a lot of milk. This is what you could do. Find the cows in your herd that produce the most milk. Only let these cows reproduce. After they reproduce, find the offspring that produce the most milk. Only let these reproduce. Keep repeating this process until you achieve your goal of having cows that produce the most milk. The key here is to identify the feature you want and only breed from the individuals that have this key feature. Selective breeding is the process by which humans use animal and plant breeding to develop particular traits by choosing which animal or plant will produce and have offspring together.
There are two types of artificial selection. The mating of more closely related individuals of the same breed over generations is called inbreeding. If animals of different breeds are crossed, it is called outbreeding.
Animal breeding is broadly classified into two types, inbreeding and outbreeding. Inbreeding. We have learnt that the first generation of crossbreed hybrid will have recessive allele in their genome. So in order to have pure hybrid with no recessive alleles in it, inbreeding is performed. In inbreeding, very closely related animals, generally brothers, cousins, etc., are mated with each other. In each generation, the animals that express recessive or harmful character are eliminated, and the remaining are bred again. After repeated inbreeding and selective selection, pure lines of hybrids with no recessive characters are obtained. However, there is problem with inbreeding. When the pure breeds are repeatedly inbred, after few generations, some of the dominant characters lose their effectiveness. This is also called inbreeding depression. To overcome this inbreeding depression, outcrossing is performed. Outbreeding. Outbreeding is a technique in which breeding is done between unrelated animals. Here, the term unrelated refers to the animals of either same breed having different ancestors, or animals of different breeds or different species.
Happy watching, and do not forget to do your revision. Thanks everyone.